AI is supposed to help us with real estate photography, but a lot of new programs aren't just disappointing, they're also putting a lot of photographers at risk for misrepresentation. And here's the kicker. We're not alone. A new MIT study found that 95% of all AI businesses fail to deliver real results. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, even admitted that AI is now in a bubble with overhyped promises from many new AI companies. So let's take a look at some of the AI fails in recent real estate photography offerings, including the photo to video offerings, virtual staging, editing, and then how you can avoid these pitfalls. First, we'll take a look at the AI photo to video, which is becoming quite popular, but if you've ever used it, you've probably seen a lot of problems. Now, I was reached out to by 3 different companies that offer this, and 2 of them, when I told them that I was going to actually test it, crickets. They just completely ghosted me. They came back with an answer that, well, we've got a few more revisions we'd like to put in first, and then never heard anything back, and follow-ups went nowhere. But there was one company that I did take a look at. It's a new one by Cloud Pano. It's called Photo AI Video. So I'm going to use that, but I'm also going to use Google Veo. And that way we can take a look at one of the best that's out there, actually made by Google, and then compare that. But you'll see along the way that there are a variety of problems that we're going to encounter. Before showing the results, just real quick, overall, all these programs, you will be lucky if you get something that's even 1080p out of it. And of course, that's probably going to be 24 or 30 frames per second, so you really can't slow it down. You are at the mercy of whatever they do produce. And a lot of times too, it's going to be low resolution, a little bit fuzzy, maybe jittery also. Some of that may be corrected over time, but the bigger problems are what it actually produces. Using this photo of a living room to create a video, we can see the first red flag, and that's that these programs tend to add things that don't exist. When this was turned into a video, the program added some weird exterior wall on the left. Now, I know that exterior wall doesn't exist, which we can see from these photos. Yet this happens more often than you might think. In fact, something similar happened when using this photo, where the AI video added a brick wall on the left with a fireplace, but as we can see from this photo, that wall doesn't exist as a brick wall, and neither does it have a fireplace. The software also added and changed a few minor items, but the biggest red flag, making this a no-go for real estate media, is adding completely different structures to the property. So next, I went and I looked at Veo. Now that's one of Google's newer offerings, and trying it with this image that was virtually staged, which, by the way, we're going to get to this image here in just a second, but using it for a video, telling Veo to walk into this room toward the fireplace, I got all kinds of weird results with either a person walking into the room or odd orbits that sometimes added disappearing walls. So even using what is likely the most advanced photo to video app, we can easily get problematic results. Now, none of these videos could be used for the listing service for the MLS, what we call it here in the United States. Couldn't be used on other websites like Zillow and whatnot because it's actually misrepresenting the property, but that's just scratching the surface. When using this photo of the outside of a house, the AI-generated video put in some weird bouncing effect as though a person was hand-holding a camera, not using a gimbal with a ninja walk. Also notice this completely messed up parts of the image, including the house address, and look how it added a completely different and bigger gate on the right side of the house. Remember, this is the photo that was uploaded into the AI video software, and this is the video that was created. Weird things can also happen with interior shots like this photo where the AI-generated video added some kind of spooky moving object in the glass reflection of the picture on the left. When we look at the photo that was used, that ghost didn't exist. This is just downright creepy. Another problem, though, is not being able to control where you want to zoom, orbit, or pan to and from, like in this example where not only is the AI video bouncing like it did in the other one for the outside, it's also oddly rotating around the garage, not the house. And if that weren't enough, I'd sometimes get weird zooms with an Alfred Hitchcock effect exaggerating the scene like a horror film. Now, there are options to add ending frames to avoid some of these problems, but given the effort involved coupled with all of these other AI problems, I'd rather just spend the 20 minutes it takes to record the video myself, get real 4K footage, 60p so I can slow it down if I want to, and spend the 30 to 60 minutes it takes to edit the video. But this is also just the tip of the iceberg doing just video, because we also have real estate photos to consider. So what I want to do next is take a look at some very dangerous trends people are doing with ChatGPT, also some other virtual staging and automatic editing. But before getting to that, I just want to take a quick break and mention that if you did want to learn more about real estate photography, then I'd invite you to take a look at my courses on real estate photography. I have online courses that teach professional interiors, expert editing, exteriors, videography, business and marketing. And I also have a series of books on real estate photography, and I have links to all of that down in the description for this video. Moving along now, let's take a look at the very dangerous trend that's become popular recently, but I don't recommend it, and you'll see why, of using ChatGPT and some other automatic virtual staging options. This is a photo I shot for a mid-century modern home which needed some virtual staging. Using my traditional method of using Apply Design in Photoshop, I got this result, which you've probably seen me do in other videos. Now this doesn't look bad, but when trying to imitate the same thing using ChatGPT, I got this result, which first off is a lower resolution of just 1500 pixels wide, and the results aren't exactly what I asked for. But the bigger problem is how ChatGPT actually changed the structure of the property, going beyond just adding furniture and other items. For instance, notice how ChatGPT changed the top of the far bookcase shelving, adding wood where it didn't exist. And look at the fireplace. Not only did ChatGPT completely change the hearth, it also changed the stonework and messed it up in the process. Well, these are minor mistakes. The issue here is that ChatGPT isn't adding furniture, it's completely remaking the entire image, which could lead to all kinds of problems, making it unsafe for listing sites like your MLS, Zillow, Redfin, etc. And there are other issues to be aware of. Here are 3 photos of an empty room that I shot recently, which the client wanted virtually staged. So using Apply Design once again, I got these 3 results. Each one of these images is consistent with the others, using the same furniture and to the same scale. This is something that's almost impossible to do with auto staging software like using ChatGPT, which gave me this result. Having very little control with ChatGPT, this room, similar to the odd layout in the earlier example, is not an easy thing for ChatGPT to figure out. When I virtually staged this room, I placed furniture into separate living areas, and as I was able to also cover up this open access panel, which the previous owners did with a couch. So that's what I did also when I virtually staged it. But with ChatGPT, these things are much more difficult, if not downright impossible to control. By virtually staging this myself using Apply Design, I can also use their same property option that, when selected, allows me to use the same items from other images that I used in other photos that I was virtually staging for that property. So software like Apply Design also allows you to make collections of favorite items and even automatically apply entire room bundles that you make. The key is consistency, which you can't get when using random generative AI engines like ChatGPT. You also can't control furniture size in ChatGPT, which is something most other programs like Apply Design do. And by using Apply Design, I can download not just an image, but the actual layers it created, so I can add them myself into a photo that I'm editing in Photoshop. A key difference here is whether you're going to use some of these AI programs to do something entirely or just partially using their AI. For instance, when it came to auto editing, it's become popular for a few programs out there to do automatic HDR editing, also making promises that they can automatically do Flambient. But like I showed in an earlier video, those things really fall apart under some circumstances. Now I have a link to that other video down in the description of this video, so you can actually see real comparisons of trying different circumstances with the auto editing using HDR, and also then how that compared to Flambient. But what if you used AI just partially? Well, let's take a look at that next. So here's an empty conversation pit with a built-in couch, but really not much else. So the client wanted me to remove the table in the bottom left and then do some virtual staging. But when using Photoshop's generative fill, for instance, to just do some of this myself, just using a little bit of AI, well, I didn't get a removal, I got replacements like these, where Photoshop thinks I wanted to replace it with a table, a plant, a couch, who knows what. But I'm sure you've seen this before and it can drive you batty. Well, one way to avoid this is simply to explicitly tell generative fill in Photoshop to remove the object by simply using the prompt remove object, and that works most of the time. So that helped in this circumstance, but let's now take this further and use AI to do some virtual staging on this edited image. So using Apply Design, I got this result, allowing me to place furniture, art, rugs, etc. where I like them while not changing the property structure. Using ChatGPT to do the same thing, I got this result, which added another built-in couch in the bottom of the image and changed the view in the far window, both of which are big no-nos for the listing market. So going back to my virtually staged image, since this was all done in Photoshop by adding layers from Apply Design, I was able to take things further, turning the credenza with the art into an entertainment center just by using some simple Photoshop AI tools to remove the art and then add the TV, plant, and books. The key is that not relying on ChatGPT, I was able to create a high-resolution, virtually staged image and with high editing flexibility that retained the property structure. While 95% of new AI companies have proven their promises are empty, we have to remember that AI is not a replacement for photographers and editors. Sure, decades ago, many painters were replaced by cameras, and also the darkroom was replaced by Photoshop and Lightroom by Adobe. But humans were still involved with the entire process. AI is the same thing. It's a tool to use during the next evolution of photography and art, but it isn't a replacement. In fact, AI made its leaps and bounds because of its ingestion of human-developed products from past millennia. To continue growing, AI needs more input, which is now becoming polluted with AI-generated material, creating something known as AI model collapse. This was reported in the journal Nature, where over time, AI models feeding on AI-generated content became brain damaged and spit out garbage. So without humans, AI cannot exist. Yet as photographers, we often forget that simple fact. AI may streamline our workflow, it may polish our images, even inspire new ideas, but AI is still just a tool. The creativity, the judgment, the vision, that comes from us, and as long as we remember that, AI will never replace the person behind the lens and instead should be used with caution.